Hey guys, I want to welcome to you this edition of the Z-Log. What we want to talk about, we've been promising you guys we're going to talk about boat brokers, buying a boat, selling a boat, and the things I've learned over the last 3 years in dealing with that mess. And believe me, it can be a mess. And what I want to get into first is what you need to do to buy a boat. We'll talk about selling a boat, but I want to talk about when you buy a boat, what you need to do. And buying a boat can be a complicated thing. For some people it's super easy, but this is what I've learned from buying a boat. Boat brokers are not going to like any of these things I'm telling you. Your broker's not going to like it. The selling broker's not going to like it. Nobody's going to like what I got to tell you, and they're going to try to keep you from doing this if they can, because they want to sell you a boat and they want you to buy a boat, and they just want to get their commission. Every broker I've made, all they're interested in is their commissions. They're not truly interested in you. Now, every boat you're going to look at has got scabs on it. Every boat you're going to look to buy has got problems. There's going to be defects with it. Those brokers don't want you to find those defects, and those defects are not a deal killer. Those defects are just part of owning a boat. You're going to have them when you sell your boat. You're going to have one when you buy your boat. The key is to find as many of those defects as you can before you buy that boat to help you get the best price on that boat, and so you understand what you've got to fix, what you've got to deal with, and issues like that. So let's get right down to that. The first thing I would do when you found that boat online, or when your brokers found that boat, if you're using a broker, is spend some time, some quality time with that girl. A lot of quality time. You know, when you first met your girlfriend or your wife, she was pretty hot. But after about 300 years, you started to notice some blemishes on her, didn't you? You picked up that skirt and that round butt wasn't surround anymore. It had a little cottage cheese on it. Had a little cellulite, little golf ball damage. Those are things you want to see on that boat. You want to lift the skirt up on that boat because chances are she's an old boat or she's a used boat. And so you want to look under that hood and see if you're okay with the things that are wrong with that boat. Now, the only way I'm able to look under the hood of a boat, or look under the skirt of a boat, is to spend time on it. And my wife used to get so mad at me because we'd go look at boats and we'd be sitting there and she goes, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And when we found the boat we wanted, I just wanted to sit there and be on the boat. I didn't realize why I wanted to be on the boat, but I wanted to sit there and be on the boat. And so Renee would be sitting there getting bored, and I'd start getting bored. That's where you want to be. You want to be bored. You want to be where you're starting to look inside that boat, where you start saying, okay, I've seen all the cosmetics, I've seen all the good stuff, now I need to figure out what's wrong. And then you start pulling panels up. You start looking under things. You start looking around things. You start recognizing the blemishes that when you're in infatuation with the boat that you normally don't see. And it takes, if I could spend a week on a boat before I ever signed a contract, before I ever said my I do's and signed the vows, you need to do that. Once again, your brokers aren't going to want you to do that because they know the longer you spend on a boat, the more blemishes you're going to find, the more things you're going to find wrong with that boat, and they don't want you to find those. The seller doesn't want you, the seller's broker doesn't want you to be on that boat that long either, because he knows you're going to find blemishes on that boat. But I'm telling you, you want to spend that time so that you don't get surprised later. You're not going to find them all, but you want to get past the point of infatuation with the boat to where you, not the surveyor, because that surveying's just a big racket, you see those blemishes. You see those things that are going to be a problem, like how much space is there for you to work on something? Where's that pump at? Where's that circuit breaker at? Where's all the pieces that make this boat work? Can I get to that? Is there corrosion way back in there where I can't see that? Corrosion's not a problem. Every boat has corrosion on it. But you need to see those things. You need to understand, how am I going to deal with those? But that's number one on the list, is get past the point of infatuation and spend as much time on that boat as you can, especially get bored with it so you start looking at things you wouldn't normally look at. When I first stepped on a boat and I found the first boat, the first Zatara that you saw, the Beneteau, I was in love. Oh my gosh, this is the boat. We have found it. It's the deal. Golly, 6 months later, that girl had hair in places I didn't like. She didn't shave. She had a mustache. I didn't see the mustache when I first got her, and we first started dating. I don't know how I missed it, but I missed it. So Don't miss the mustache. And you won't see it when you've got infatuation in your eyes for boats. So get past that point. You and your wife or your partner, get past the point of infatuation so you start looking at that boat. Don't count on that surveyor to do that for you. And dang sure, argue with your brokers and get them to give you access to the boat so you can spend a lot of time looking at that boat. Next thing I want to talk about. We've looked under a skirt. You say, you know, I understand all these things. We haven't signed a contract yet. You're still shopping, you're looking, and you're spending time. And you found the boat. Now you think you want to do a contract up. This is the boat you want. Go do the sea trial first. Sell that boat around. Go out and sell it and enjoy the boat and spend a day on the boat. Get the owner, make it part of the contract that you get to do a sea trial for a whole day. You're going to take a surveyor out. And them surveyors, you need to know as much as a surveyor about a boat. Now he can do some technical stuff, but most of them just check the box. This works, this works, this works. You want to run every system on that boat through its paces. And I'm not talking for 5 minutes. I'm talking for run that water maker for 3 or 4 hours. Turn the generator on, turn on all the ACs in the heat of the day. Turn the water maker on, find out what trips the breakers, how big a load it'll take. Run that thing till it's hot, until it's almost overloaded, until it starts giving you, see if you can overload things. The engines of the boat. Get those things fired up. Don't go motor them for 20 minutes. I can take this boat right now out in the water and I can motor and I can run them up to 2,000 RPM and we're going good and everybody's happy-go-lucky and oh, this is a great boat. But if I leave them there for a long enough period, the boat engines will start to get hot. And they'll run hotter than they should run because I need to clean the heat exchangers on them. That's part of boat life. You want to know that before you buy a boat. You want to know if they're...
Zatara, Wiz.
Do the sea trial first. Run those systems. Oh, I was talking about engines.
That's right.
Run the engines. Run them hard. Run every system on that boat hard and for like 5 or 10 hours if you can during the heat of a day. And run the generator, run the electrical systems, run everything for a long period. Don't just turn on an AC and it blows cold air and you turn it off 5 minutes later. Run that thing for a long period of time. I would make it part of the contract that I get to run those systems for 48 hours on shore power and on land. Brokers aren't going to like you for that. The seller's not going to like you for that because they know things are going to break while they're running them. Now, if something breaks while you're running it and it overheats or something goes wrong, that's not a deal killer. And maybe you don't need the seller to fix it. Maybe you do. Maybe it's in that deal. Because everything on a boat when you run it breaks. Trust me. The more you run it, the more it's going to wear and the more it's going to break. That's why you want to make sure you buy a boat that has heavy duty, continuous duty systems on it, not just run it for a couple hours and then shut it off. We cruise with a lot of boats who are afraid to run their stuff because they're afraid it's going to wear out and it won't work when they want it. You want to buy a boat that everything's going to work when you want it to and it's got heavy duty systems on it. The other thing I would recommend is staying overnight on the boat. That helps that boredom because you'll be sitting there on the boat and you'll be going, oh, I'm so bored, there's nothing to do. I've looked at every inch of this boat, but the more you look at the boat, once again, that goes back to looking under a skirt. Let's see what's under there. Let's see what's under the hood. Let's crack it open and see what's going on. Spend the night with the girl. Let's find out what's going on. So that's what I'm talking about. Your brokers aren't going to like that. The seller's not going to like that. But if you're selling your boat, you want to have a list of the things that you know are discrepancies and fix those things before somebody gets on there and just say anything that's broke on this is or that breaks during sea trials or that breaks during a haul out or the guy can't find, that's going to be on you. I'm not, and you can qualify those things. Those are all contractual things. Brokers don't like that, but that's just the way it is. So spend some time on the boat. Get it in the contract where you can stay all night on the boat if you can, or stay a couple of days on the boat. People say, well, that's their property, that's their thing. Well, if a guy wants to sell that boat bad enough, he's going to make it where you can have access to that. It's just like a home. You go back to a home, well, you're going to spend $500,000 on a home. You go back there more than once to sit in that home and just relax and look at it, or at least I do. So spend some time looking at the girl you're going to marry. Now, I want to talk about hauling out and sea trials. All the brokers want you to do a haul out first because you commit to that haul out, and haul outs range anywhere from $500 to $2,000, $3,000. And once you've spent that money, then they want you to go do a sea trial. I recommend doing a sea trial first and spending a day on a sea trial, not a couple of hours out there deploying sails, but take your family, get the owner of the boat, y'all go do a sea trial, take the surveyor with you if you got to, and you got to pay him to be out there. Tell him it's going to be an all-day thing. And you guys enjoy, have lunch on the boat, go swimming, go to a nice cove, and spend an entire day and maybe 24-hour period on the boat, enjoying the boat, and running it through its paces. That's part of that looking under a skirt. After you've done the sea trial, then take and haul the boat out if you're still in love with it and you can't, if it hadn't turned you off, then you can go spend that money on the Haulout. And once you've done the sea trials and you're happy with that, then we can go to the Haulout. And one of the things I would put in my contract, if you had to write a contract for this, all this to happen, is I would put anything that they find deficient. Now, the brokers want you to say anything that's not seaworthy. Anything that's not seaworthy. I would write in your contract anything that's found that is not brought up in the beginning before you ever look at the boat, before you ever do a haul out, or before the surveyor ever steps on there. I would say any discrepancy, any deficiency, any blemish, anything that's faulty, anything that's not working perfectly will be at the expense of the seller because he falsely misrepresented his boat to you. And you shouldn't have to negotiate that as part of your deal, okay? So make sure that when you buy that boat or when you sign the contract for that boat to look at it and go through all of this, that you put in the contract that the seller signs that he is responsible. And if he fails, if he says, well, I'm not going to repair that, then he's responsible for paying you the haul-out fees. Now, another thing I would do in that contract, because you don't want to put that haul-out fee up front, I would tell the seller, and I would make it in the contract, this is a better way to do it. The seller pays the haul-out fee and the surveyor that you choose the surveyor, he pays that. Once the boat passes that, and it passes that, all discrepancies and all those things, you will reimburse the seller for the cost of that haul-out. You will reimburse him for the cost of the surveyor. That way, if he doesn't want to pay it, after you've already put that line item in there that, hey, anything that's not up to speed, anything that you didn't divulge, anything that you didn't give in the due diligence and say, hey, this is broke, this isn't good, I've had problems with this, the engine overheats a little on this side. If you find those things out while you're out there on sea trial, you're covered. The boat brokers are going to hate you for that. They're not going to want you to do that. When we buy and sell airplanes and jets and helicopters, we do an inspection on them, and it's a serious inspection, and I have to pay for that inspection. But it's a mandatory thing that if the seller won't fix what's wrong with that, he's got to reimburse me for the inspection fees and all the costs that goes along with what I had to spend because he misrepresented his aircraft to me. You guys out there buying boats, we need to make it a better deal where the brokers aren't so worried about their commissions. I mean, they need to get their commission. If they're a good broker, we want to take care of those brokers. So that's what we talked about this week. We got into a little bit of the contracts. We talked about looking under a skirt. We talked about spending time on that boat. So we're going to continue this on another day, and I will get into some more details of contractual issues and all those things. One other thing to close this up with, make sure it's a win-win for you and the seller. Don't worry about the broker. The broker wants it to be a win for him. He could care less after the sale is done about the broker, about the seller, or the buyer. He just cares about making sure he gets his commission. That's been my experience with brokers, and that's all they care about, and the ones I've dealt with.
I've bought 2 boats.
And I've bought 2 boats and sold 1. So make sure you have a win-win contract, and if you can eliminate the broker altogether and go deal with the owner directly, then that would be an excellent thing. Especially, and you're going to find some crooks out there that are owners, and you're going to find some crooks out there that are brokers. But if you deal with honest people, and you go into it honestly, and you have a good sound contract, say, listen, I'll buy your boat. If there's blemishes, I want to know about them up front. I want to know what's wrong with this girl right up front. I like the boat, but I want to know what's wrong with her. So once again, guys, we're going to conclude some more of this boat brokers buying and selling of boats in the next episodes. Stay tuned on those. And once again, if you like what you're seeing, please hit the subscribe button, like it, share it with your friends, and we look forward to seeing you guys out there.